admit, these are just some very preliminary concepts. When we responded to the initial request for proposals, we really don't have very much time to do any work. So we really look forward to actually hearing from the community the kinds of things that you would like. I mean, we love to hear that you'd like to have a signature building with architectural merit. That's music to our ears, because it means we can make these guys spend a little bit of money and do something nice. So I'm actually hoping that we can find a way to actually get some input other than just the blogs, because people just like to say nasty things on the blogs. As important as the blogs are to keep people informed about what's going on. So to the extent that we can actually hear what the community would like, we'd love to work with you as the process starts. And again, this will be a public process, and we'll be back many times, I believe, before the community and showing the design as it progresses. And hopefully you'll see a lot of progress and support that. Thank you.
Great. And then finally, Dr. Demchuk, thank you for sharing your vision for that 7th Street lobby. I guess one concern that I have is, how big is that lobby? Because you're really throwing everything but the kitchen sink in there, which sounds great, but how are you going to pull that off?
I don't know yet, Alex, and that's why I'm asking for a focus group. Once the architect gives me dimensions, I would love to have this. I mean, I could do a museum here. The Sears Museum or the Sears Terrazzo, we could really do the history of Shaw right in this room. So whatever they give me, I'm going to come back to you. And please, any of you would like to sign up with Alex, I'm going through him to get the focus groups together. I'll give you the plan, you give me the ideas. We'll try to figure it out, Alex. Good question.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, Ron?
It was unfortunate he didn't ask for any comment from the audience before he had that vote.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to know, why is it only 2 units at 30% AMI?
You said 3 units.
Oh, is it 3?
3 units at 30% AMI. You said, why is that?
Yes.
Well, we have to make the building financials work as well. So in addition to providing affordable housing, we still have to have a building that is financeable. So this is our good faith measure to show that we're willing to go down to 30% and 40% AMI. So you now have all the units are 50% or below, and that's very competitive with what's going on in the neighborhood for mixed-use housing.
Could you tell me a little bit about the retail now? Do you do any outreach to the community for the retail that you want to have? You said it's going to be permanent. Is that a permanent retail space that you're talking about?
It's going to be permanent retail space, yes.
So, where was the community input about the retail space? I mean, how was it processed that you gave them on a permanent retail space in that building?
Right, so we talked to the community during the proposal phase and wanted to understand what was important. One of the things that we heard was important to the community was job creation. So we wanted to go a step further and not just job creation, but entrepreneurship creation. So hence the incubator idea. But all of these are our ideas. And there's going to be opportunities for public participation. And we do have an obligation to the Deputy Mayor's office to honor those things that we put in the proposal. So while we definitely would like to come back and have conversations with the community, they do box us in somewhat as to what we can change. But we're talking about 4 or 5 years from now. I mean, we don't even know who's going to still be in business. So there might be opportunities for additional conversations on retail, and we'd love to reach out to the community. I mean, we want something that people want to visit and buy things in. It doesn't do us any good just to put a ceremonial retail offering there that we can't make any money in. So we're all ears.
Yeah, this has been a lot of retail places that have been displaced because of so much going on in Shaw. So I was just wondering if they had an opportunity to go into or rent the spaces in Hartsfield too.
I think there will be other opportunities for folks.
Oh, okay. I'm going to do Martin first.
Thank you. I think affordable housing is a bad name in the city. I don't know why. You have to realize that the chief says most of our police officers live outside of the district, can't afford to live. So those tax dollars go outside of the district. Those are stable, good people to have living in our neighborhood. So I think that you consider that when you put in only a few units of affordable housing, that you consider how many people you're not allowed to live in your property. I also agree with Commissioner Macedo that I'm not that concerned about parking. We're a capital city of the nation. You go to any other city in the world, Beijing, Hong Kong, Paris, people aren't dependent on cars. There's a lot of people walking to their destinations, biking, taking public transportation. This car culture that we have in America, it's going to go away, especially in our major urban centers. We shouldn't carve out spaces like this. Considering cars.
Okay, Ms. Hightower is next.
Hi, I just wanted to commend Commissioner, what's his name, Chappelle, and as well as Padro. I'm having one of those moments for the parking. Even though we talk about what other countries are going to as it relates to the transportation trend, that hasn't yet happened. We have to deal with what really still happens right now today. We can't look for the future. The future is not here yet. But what I want to ask the commissioners, when you, how do you say this? Once your documentation goes to improve the parking and the Deputy Mayor Hoskins' office says it will be as it is because they just voted on that new legislation, you know, what will be your next step? You know, because I really would like to hear what will be your next step, because I am getting so tired of us going to an administration that we put in office and what we feel, because you represent the constituents of Shaw. What will be your next step? I'm not interested in Hoskins or Gray's decision. I'm interested in what strategy will happen as commissioners, whereas you will let them know that we need more parking.
So
that's
Ms.
exactly-
Hightower, you're saying that after we work with the developer and after we work with the deputy mayor's office, we're told no, or because the process is that we
Understand the
work with
process.
Ivan and the development team, and I'm optimistic that something can be worked out. So I can't answer your question, what will happen if we're told no? So I don't know necessarily how to, unless Kevin wants to.
Well, the process, after the deputy mayor makes a decision, the council will have to approve it. If the deputy mayor does not go, does not see the wisdom of what we suggest, then we
Right.
can always lobby out the city council to back us.
And make sure when you do lobby, you include the constituents, okay? Because one of the things my thing is that we say things, but I've heard a lot of times that the administration has said no to the commissioners. So I'm really not always interested in about being optimistic. But you're speaking for the majority of the constituents, and I'm just saying in case that they do not comprehend that level of intellect, just let me know, because we will garner and we will be there, and we will. And I hope that your task force will also, Commissioner Padro, include Mrs. Sutherland and Mr. Chappelle and other people, so that it's a diverse group of people from the historic Shaw community, because I agree with you both. And thank you, that's all I got to say.
That's a very valid point, thank you
God
very
bless
much.
you.
I think Gretchen, did you have a question? And-
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on the motion that was proposed and seconded, I totally am supportive of that motion and agree to it. I live 2 blocks from the site and 2 blocks from the Howard Theater. I also live, therefore, 2 blocks from the Metro, a block and a half from the Metro. There are people who park there all the time in our area to catch the Metro. It's very different than 5th and K Street. In 5th and K, if I want to go to the garden shop or to the hardware store,
Right.
I can park in the Safeway parking lot, run in there and buy something, and I get free parking.
Right.
We don't have that in this area. I mean, but that's how you do it at 5th and K Street. It's a different area
It truly
altogether.
is.
You can't really compare it to 5th and K Street. So I'm totally in support of that, and I certainly agree with Ms. Hightower that you do have community support behind this. And if we have to go to meetings, Ivan, with Victor, we will do that. Because there are many, many times that what happens in DIMCAD is not really reflective of what the community wants.
Right,
So we need to make sure that that's not.
it's truly not.
Any other, okay.
they was having a dim pad.
Previous meetings,
You wanna stand up? You wanna stand up?
I live in the block as well. One of the previous meetings that we had, ANC meetings, they talked about, I think it was mentioned about the parking and the security aspect of the parking. So I just wanted, if they can, to kind of touch on the security aspect of the parking at Parcel 42.
I'm not sure, when you say security,
Well, I mean, if it's underground, is it going to be secure, et cetera?
yeah, we'll have some sort of controlled access to ensure that only people who are authorized to park there can park there. Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay,
Just one-
Pleasant.
I just want to get it straight. Okay, you signed your term sheet, you said,
Term sheet, yes.
okay, and the PUD will not be finished until 2015.
Right, so the next things that we have to do are, we have to go before council, and the next immediate step is working with the deputy mayor's office to sign what they call the Land Development Disposition Agreement, LDDA. So once that's done, then that needs to be approved by council. So then there's an opportunity for review and public input. So from 2014 to 2015, it really takes a year or more to get the PUD approved. So we'll be going through the process during that time.
Oh, well, and that brings up one final question. I understand one unique thing about your proposal is that you're going to give this land back to the city after a certain period of time.
That's a 100-year lease,
Uh,
99-year lease with the city.
Oh, okay, so it's not sooner.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Port. I'm with a nonprofit called Coalition for Corner Growth that actually ride by this site every day on my way home from work and live just up the street.
You wanna stand up for us?
I live in One Street, 14th and you, and I just wanted to so the question about parking, so what's the right amount of parking? It sort of depends on what people want to pay for, right? I mean, the market price is a little bit north of $200 a month for a parking space, and so people who really need a parking space can generally rent a parking space, and in fact, we have oversupply in certain areas because what's actually happening is there's a real trend away from car ownership. DC's car ownership has declined. The number of carless households has actually increased. It's almost 40% now. It was about 36% a couple years ago, and it's risen up to 39.5% now. And then also, there's a great new report that came out on the decline in driving in the region, and the country actually, and it's most dramatic in DC, where there's a 24% decline in the amount of people who are driving, and it's sort of another statistic in terms of this strong trend, especially among the sort of largest demographic group, which are sort of millennials, 20 and 30-year-olds. So I think that there's a lot of new information that people might not be as aware of in terms of who are the people who want to live on top of the Shaw Metro Station, on top of the 7th Georgia Avenue bus line, next to a Capitol Bike Station, Cabby Station. I think that there's more that we could learn about how do we, rather than say there must be a right answer to the number of parking spaces that should be in any project, it's actually more about who are we marketing this to, how are we taking advantage of all of the all the things that the site has to offer in terms of what's in walking distance of this site, let alone biking distance or transit. So I think that those are things that we should keep in mind as we look to the future of as Shaw is changing, and the kinds of people, sort of the younger people who are moving to this neighborhood, and the kinds of should I spend $50,000 in a parking space, or should I be able to live in this neighborhood for starters? And so the impact on affordable housing is a critical question in terms of, do we want housing for cars or housing for people? And I think that a lot of people, the constituent complaints really goes to how are we managing street public space, right? How are we storing, we're storing our private vehicles in public space, and that's really a DDOT issue, and I think that would be an important thing to raise with them in terms of management of street space.
Okay, great, good point. I think the overall theme of this is that in this 4 to 5 block radius, we have a lot of cars, we have a lot of people, and ideally we'd love to have people use the car to go and use the metro, but the reality is it's busy, and I can't tell you how many emails I get from all over the ANC that people cannot find a parking space, and I'm out there not only Sundays, but other times of the week, I call in the cars that are parked illegally. So it's just how it is. It's the reality of it. Okay, any other questions before we move forward? No? Okay, great. Thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate it, and thank you everyone for your comments.
Thank you, and we look forward to working with you.
All right, great.
One last quick thing. We have a website up, it's shaw42developers.com, so you can follow the progress that we're making on the project. Again, shaw42developers.com. Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have our first request for support for a liquor license. This has to do with the new Giant supermarket that's going to be opening soon, right near us here on 7th Street. And it's actually for two, one for beer and wine sales, which is a Class B, and one for the in-store cafe. So this is in Alex's area.
Thank you. Most of you that have been longtime residents of the neighborhood know that before the Giant food store at 8th and O closed for construction on City Market at O, the store had a liquor license, a Class B full-service grocery license. That license was put in what is called safekeeping during the construction of City Market at O, and Giant would like to retrieve that and to utilize that particular license to be able to restore that service to its customers at that location. So I will allow counsel for Giant to briefly present on this, and then I'll present the ANC 6E ABC Licensing Committee recommendation.
Thank you. I'm Steve O'Brien. I'm ABC Licensing Counsel for Giant Food. With me in order from next to me, John Hicks, who is the Regional Vice President for Giant. Next to John is Tim Baker, who's the District Director. George Ross is going to be your new store manager. And because security issues were discussed at the committee meeting, we also have Scott Hoffmeister, who is the Regional Director of Security for Giant. As
You want to go ahead and use the mic, do you mind using this?
As Commissioner Padros said, this is actually two license applications. One is a Class B Bravo license for beer and wine on the shelves at the store to be purchased along with groceries and to be checked out and taken. The second license application is a Class D, as in Delta, which is for a 45 to 50 seat cafe within the store at the southwest corner, right at the intersection of 7th and O. The store, this will be what the Giant calls a flagship store. This will be the best that Giant has to offer in the way of amenities at the store. It'll be over 40,000 square feet. It's going to cost tens of millions of dollars to open. The target date is November 8th. Presently, that could slip because of construction issues, but we're still fully expecting by the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Okay. There will be, since it was discussed in the last matter, 110 parking spaces in the building for Giant customers. Separate arrangements are made for Giant employees. The store will employ over 200 people. Hiring at the site is going to start next month, October. Candidates selected will intern, is my word, at other Giant stores to learn how Giant does business in order to be ready for the store opening. And John tells me that well over 100 of the new employees are expected to be residents of the immediate neighborhood.
Great.
Okay. Now that's the overview, and I know there may be specific questions, and that's why I brought the team with me.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Well, first the report from the committee.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, we all have these committees now, and APRA is one of the committees.
So firstly, let's take the two applications separately because there are different issues associated with each one. So the release from safekeeping of the existing Class B license. The committee found to be unobjectionable. We asked some questions about the exact hours that were being proposed. We reviewed what the past hours were of alcoholic beverage sales at the store, and we were comfortable that Giant would continue to be the type of community-spirited and community-minded operation that would definitely want to make sure that people are safe in the store. We raised a number of questions related to security, specifically the use of cameras around the perimeter of the building, and I'm glad to be able to have gotten a response from Mr. Baker this afternoon regarding the number of cameras inside and outside of the store. So for committee members as well as the public's edification, there will be 40 cameras, 40, covering all the exits and entrances and placed around the interior of the store. And outside of the building, there will be 5 cameras covering the exterior perimeter of the building and the loading dock. So the loading dock obviously is underground in this instance, so I would count those cameras on the loading dock as being interior rather than exterior, but be that as it may. There is a concern about, we will raise in another matter this evening, related to the lack of perimeter cameras overall for the city market development, but we're comfortable that, or at least I'm comfortable that 5, well, I guess I better ask Mr. Hoffmeister. So how many of the those 5 cameras that were initially presented as being outside cameras are actually perimeter cameras on the street level?
The 5 on the building will be forward to the street level.
Okay, because there was a notation that the loading dock was also included in those 5 cameras.
That would be separate from the 5 cameras on the perimeter.
Okay, so 5 cameras.
Commissioner Patro, I did ask a follow-up question on that because I had the same question after reading the email this afternoon. The entire perimeter will be covered by cameras, the entire exterior perimeter. And if the dead spots and all are such that 6 or 7 are required, they will be installed. But the entire perimeter will be covered. And I also followed up, the digital technology used in these cameras will preserve recordings for 180 days. Thus, on the 181st day, the first day will record over. But you will not experience a loss of camera footage before a police investigation should be conducted.
Well, thank you. That's very helpful. And for folks that may not be aware, security camera footage has been critical in solving a number of crimes in recent years, both in the district and in adjacent jurisdictions. So that was one of the reasons that the committee wanted specific information about that coverage. So we're grateful to hear that the cameras will cover the entire exterior of the store on the ground floor. So, Commissioner Maceda, did you have anything that you wanted to add about the transfer of the application of the existing license?
No, I wanted to make sure that all the questions that we addressed at the committee have all been resolved.
So I can add, again, from Mr. Baker's email, there was a question about the security staffing. The staffing level is that there will be an armed guard, I presume that means 1 armed guard, 24 hours a day roaming the store. And it says that Giant will have 80 hours per week with Giant detective coverage. And then perhaps, Mr. Hoffmeister, you can explain what that boils down to.
We hired plainclothes store detectives to patrol the store, so that 80 hours be additional to the armed guard that would be in the store.
And these are special police officers with arrest powers. A large part of their job is loss control, meaning monitoring for shoplifting. But they are available and instructed to assist the security guard if the need arises. And they do have police powers on the premises.
So this is supposed to be a 24-hour operation, 24-hour store. So you're suggesting that there will be detectives for a portion of that total operating time, not that there will be detectives there at all times. One guard for a 73,000 square foot, supermarket doesn't sound like the right number.
It is as important, perhaps more important to Giant than the community, that this store be perceived as a safe, comfortable place to shop. Nothing would be worse for Giant than to spend tens of millions of dollars to get these doors open and find out that people won't come because they're afraid. Giant will do what is required. At other stores, and George Ross comes from Alabama Avenue Southeast. The level of security is stepped up to meet the need. At some stores, including Alabama Avenue, they hire off-duty police officers to patrol the perimeter, because that's what it takes to make the store a safe, attractive place.
So again, that was a concern that was raised by the committee, that it would appear that there is insufficient security being proposed for a store of this size. This is a dynamic community and a changing community, and there are people that would prey on some of the newer residents with higher incomes that are coming into the neighborhood. We have concerns that you're not prepared for a sufficient level of security at this store. So, would you like to respond?
I agree with your concern. We have the same concern. We are committed to provide what is needed. We had a store there in the past, so we have experience at this site. This store will have a state-of-the-art security system. You heard the camera levels. We could add cameras to that as needed. As far as for the safety of the store is concerned, whatever it takes. I mean, George is from Southeast DC, where we had issues in front of the store, and we actually hire Metro PD they're in front of our building in a car to keep people away from panhandling or what have you. That was needed based on we want a safe place to shop. We're committed to doing that. The demand will dictate how we react to that. We have a lot of resources to provide that. One armed guard that's a minimum staffing level. That's just the contract we'll sign with a security company and or Metro Police Department. We actually use combinations of both because sometimes DC have issues where they can't provide us the support that we need, so we have to have secondary people that can fill those needs. So we're committed to doing what's right. Be a great neighbor. We want to open here. We want to provide the service much better than we did the last time, and we learned from that. And we owe a bit for that. Owe a lot for that. So we're happy to be here.
So you can understand our concern and our reticence to support the release of this license without an assurance that we're going to have an adequate level of security there.
Let me put it the best way I can put it personally. We're going to have 200 plus people working. Our staff works there, parks there, walks there, drives, however. And our customers and families are going to be part of that also. I mean, obviously the people who work for us, we're going to hire for the community. Their families are shopping with us too. I think Steve said it. It's our best interest to run the safest store possible, and we will do that. We're committed to doing that. And I believe our record is very good in the city. We have 5 other stores in DC. We have experience.
Okay, moving forward, any other concerns from the commissioners?
Finish with a list of the questions that Mark was.
Okay, so Marge, do you have some additional concerns?
He has a question.
Okay, okay.
Would you like to take comments?
No, I went from the commissioners, from the other commissioners. Frank, Alvin.
I think
Okay.
Alex has to read all the concerns and then we can
Okay.
make discussion. Hi, Alvin.
So there's already been a response to the number of parking spaces. So the last question actually relates to the cafe. So I'll reserve that until after we've disposed of the first request.
So,
Questions?
any? Alvin? Frank?
No.
Nothing? Okay, anything from the audience? Okay, Martin?
Yeah, I echo what Commissioner Potter was saying. I'll say it, we see that as a quick things.
Can you speak a little louder, sir?
Show me his gun, why did someone know? So you look at the type of people, no matter what other part of town you're in, this part of town is very different. And I would say also the Walgreens down the street opened, first week I was there, they had 2 armed guards right in front. They have a controlled way to get in and out, so just consider it.
Who's next? Ibram?
I was just confirming one of the comments that was made. This may not be relevant, but I think one of the gentlemen talked about 100 employees that might be hired. Yeah, I've been living in England a long time, and one of the things I was told is that those people who were working at the store when it closed had an opportunity to come back. Was I misled?
That is true. A lot of those people are in other stores, happy to be there. This store is gonna have about double the amount of staff as the past store. The past store, when we closed it, just from rough memory, call it 100 staff, 100 people. The plan that we just wrote, I'm gonna say a month ago, calls for 230 people. Those additional people will come out of DC, and it's based on, quite frankly, who applies, who is screened, who gets the job. We'll open a hiring site, and there'll be online applications and walk-in applications. And that hiring is based on, quite frankly, the candidate pool that comes in, how they do on their interview, and what skills they provide.
I just want to make sure that what I was saying is that you were suggesting that you were getting all new people, and what I was saying, there were some good people who work at that store who were incumbent workers, and I wanted to make sure that the promise that was made to them is kept.
The option to come back to that store is still their option.
Okay,
But I will tell you, it's a voluntary option.
No, I understand, but you did say this is your flagship store, right?
This is the state-of-the-art, best Giant we have, and hopefully it'll be our flagship moving forward.
Okay, Brenda, did you have a question?
I have a statement. I have been in DC all of my life. I was only 65 years old. I have shopped Oak Street Giant, Harris Teeter, Safeway. I fear no evil. I walk in and out these stores. When Giant was on Oak Street, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be baking cakes. I'd run in Giant, come out, no problem. So, you know.
We're hiring in 1 month.
I also do agree with the young lady here. I grew up in this area, and the Giant has always been a safe place for me and my kids. And the comment that Alex made about the newcomers feeling unsafe, I really don't get that comment at all, because, like I said, I grew up around here, and the Giant was a safe place, hated for me and my children. So.
Okay, Ron?
I missed a couple of ads you made.